Today we're going to walk around this Kubota excavator, and I'm going to show you guys kind of what I looked for when I was purchasing this machine, and kind of what you should look for as well if you're interested in getting one. The machine I went with, and I'll show you guys why I made this choice. So, first off, this machine here is the Kubota E35, but there's lots of different machines out there. I wouldn't be too worried about sticking with the specific brand because I think they're all pretty good. This one just happened to work out and be the one that I took home. So with these machines, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of hydraulics and stuff like that, and you kind of want to just look over everything before you buy it, because I mean, let's be honest, these machines aren't cheap. So whether you want to use it to play or make money, you still want to have a good machine. So first you got to decide kind of what weight you want, and this machine here is like 8,500 pounds, 9,000 pounds, and this was about the right size machine for me. I could still pull it behind my truck, I could still pull it behind the dump truck, and it's small enough and easy enough to get around in backyards like this and do, you know, miscellaneous work without tearing up the yard too much. But you can still also get a lot of work done if you're digging with it. So you got to take that into consideration, whether you got a truck and trailer big enough to pull it and everything else like that. So we'll jump inside. I'll shut the door. I'm gonna rev her up just a little bit, try to get rid of this drone here, so hopefully you guys can hear me better. So this machine does have the enclosed cab, and it does have heat. It does not have AC, and the heat, I'll be honest, the closed cab was not one of my big preferences. I just wanted a nice machine. This one happened to have it. If you're looking at getting one, you know, with the cab, like this one does flip up and everything, it's real nice, but you're looking at probably $5,000 or $6,000 more to have the cab than if you didn't. So all right, so I'm going to run you through some of the tests you can do from inside the machine. Now if you're looking at a machine like this, it's always nice to have somebody with you. So one of the first tests you want to do is just kind of swing your boom and see how your slop looks. So like in this particular machine, you can see my bucket has a bit of slop, but the rest of the loader ain't too bad. So the bucket, that can easily be shimmed and bushings can be put in it. It's not a big deal. If you start talking about an entire loader, that can be a different story. Another important piece is right down here where the boom meets the cab. These little machines here, you can spin them right here, and you just want to check all the bushings and make sure everything's tight, because if it's worn out, that's a lot of extra headaches. And you can also test that. You put your boom down and you can watch to see if there's any play there. If you put any amount of pressure there, if that's tight, that's something that's awesome to look for. Like I said, this machine has 3,800 hours on it, so I'm going to expect a little bit of play, but really the only play on this machine is the bucket. So I'm happy about that. It's a little difficult to run these with one hand, and it's pretty standard. This here is the blade function, and one thing I did like about this machine is it does also have the angle blade, which if you've ever looked at these, most of these machines don't have, and it's not a make or break option when you're looking at one by any means, but it is nice to have. Actually, now that, I mean, I use mine for pushing a little bit of snow because I don't have any skid steer or nothing, but this here does have the auto idle down, which I believe most of your little newer machines will have. So if I move the hydraulics, she'll rev up, and then once I stop, I go both my hands off, and then idles down. So you can just, in theory, just leave that wound up if you're going to be digging a lot and stuff, and then the moment you get out, it'll rev down. So yeah, this here, that's pretty much all there is on the inside. And then a couple other tests you do want to make. a little difficult to do with one hand and keep you guys with me here, so. Alright, let's go take a look. So then the other thing you guys want to do is I just took my boom and I turned it at an angle with my tracks here, and I lifted my inside track off the ground. And the reason for this is you want to be able to check all these rollers. And now everything's really cold here, so I can't hardly even spin them, but you want to make sure all of them spin freely. Otherwise what will happen is you will dig into your tracks and destroy your tracks. While you're looking for that, you want to look at all your drive teeth. You want to make sure that they look alright, because that's a couple $100 if you replace them. Tracks on a machine this size are probably about $1,400–1,500. So you'll want to keep that in consideration. This machine's got new tracks on it, so that's nice. This also has the quick attach, so depending what you want to do with your machine and the type of play or work you want to do with it, that is also nice to have. Now this machine ain't super new, this one's a 2008, but it does have the quick attach, which I like, because if I want to switch out, this is an 18-inch bucket. If I ever wanted to put a 24-inch on, or say a post hole digger, it makes it really easy. Most machines come pretty standard with your auxiliary hydraulics as well, which is nice to have. You also want to keep that in mind, depending what you're looking to do with your machine. You also, this one you kind of gotta have somebody with you to see. But you can do the same deal here and use your loader to put pressure down and lift up on the machine. And if you have somebody with you, they can watch and see if there's any play where the whole machine spins on the track frame there. You'll be able to see if there's any play between the machine and the track frame. That's really important, because these machines do a lot of spinning. And that is a big job if you were to ever have to replace them. So couple things to keep in mind. Now this machine, you know, some of these machines got 40 horsepower, some of them got 30. This here is a 9,000 pound machine, and it's only got, I believe, like 28 horsepower. And now I obviously haven't been able to dig in the dirt yet, but I've done some stuff like scrape up my wood pile and do a few other little things, lift up a trailer and whatnot. And so far I have not felt any lack of power. I've actually done most of my work without even having it at its max RPM. So, you know, that's a horse apiece. I think that's your different manufacturers can get away with different horsepowers with the way the rest of the machine's designed. But I wouldn't worry about that either. I would stick to mainly the weight category you want to be in. I like this 8,000 to 9,000 pound, because I could easily pull it on my truck and trailer, and I could still get it in yards. And it's big enough to be able to dig out stumps and all kinds of stuff like that. So that was really something that was important to me. Now you can get like 6,000 or 7,000 pound machines, you can get 12,000 pound machines, really any category you want, as long as that it works with you. Now, like I said, I'm using this. I bought it. My initial purpose was for a toy, because I've always loved excavators, but I'm going to try, now that I happen to have the dump truck, maybe pick up some side jobs. We'll see. But you know, depending what your purpose is, you know, a 12,000 pound machine might be better for you if you already have a truck and a trailer that can pull it. All stuff you got to take into consideration when you look at a machine. Now this one checked out pretty good. A few of the rollers on the bottom. So I did ask the guy when he put new tracks on if he changed any of them or checked them, and he said yes. He replaced 2 of them. One of them was still squeaking, but it wasn't, it was still spinning fine, so he didn't replace it. Those rollers, if you order them online, or there's 8 of them on this machine, they're about $200 a piece. So, and I think that's pretty standard for all of them. If you go to the dealer, it's obviously much more, but I mean, this stuff you really got to keep in mind when you look at these machines, because it adds up fast. Like I said, tracks are like $1,500, so if you got one that's got tracks pretty worn out, they're not hard to change, but just figure that into your price and you can get a better deal here. So, I mean, they're not a super complicated machine. You obviously want to look at the basics when you're looking at machines, and just, you know, make sure all your hydraulics look good and everything, and this machine does here. So One thing with this machine, particular machine, having an enclosed cab, it keeps the inside of my controls and everything much nicer. So, and you can tell it's a bit faded, so it sat outside for a while, but still a plenty good machine. So you want to look at your undercarriage. So like this one here, the paint's not even scratched hardly. And if you really want to be able to get way underneath there if you can. Right now, like I said, it's super cold. I'm just on my snowy grass here. It's a bad time of the year to make a video like this, but same goes with thumbs. If you find a machine with a thumb, that's always a real handy and a nice gadget to have, especially when you first buy your machine. But what you got to really keep in mind, so like this machine, I can tell it appears it's never had a thumb on it, from what I can tell. And there's a pros and cons to it. One, it's really nice to have to start off with, because for a nice thumb is about $1,000 to $2,000 if you want your hydraulic thumb and everything. And if you got hydraulic thumbs on it, a lot of times those people use it for demolition or digging and grabbing stumps and other miscellaneous things that can tend to be hard on machines if you're not careful. So if you're doing a lot of demolition and stuff, you could have broken glass or bent roll bars, or your undercarriage could be all scratched or smashed, torn up from running over debris. Same with your tracks. You don't want any cuts in your tracks. So that's all stuff to keep in mind. Like I said, this one doesn't have a thumb, so it was mainly used for digging, which that's why like the bucket's so sloppy, but the rest of it's not, because it wasn't used to smash the boom into the side of a old trailer or campers or anything to demolish them or whatever else. So you do want to keep that in mind. And these all have pretty bulletproof motors in them. I don't know if I can get something, but okay. So like this machine's obviously Kubota, so it does have the Kubota engine in it. But this purrs like a kitten. And then these whole sides flip up, and this is pretty standard on most machines, and all your hydraulic valves are in here. This machine you can switch from one-way to two-way hydraulics, whether you want a thumb or a hammer, for example. So there's a few things to look at. I mean, you just kind of got to look at what's a moving part and just kind of keep an eye on it, because it's all expensive to change that stuff. But if you're thinking about buying one of these, I wouldn't hesitate. I've been wanting one for quite some time now, and I spent a little time saving up. And actually, I was looking for a machine with around 2,000 hours on it, and this one came up real close to home, so I decided to go look at it. It does have about 3,800 hours on it, but the trade-off, depending on how much you want to spend, the trade-off for the hours on this machine is the cab with heat, and which it depends what you plan on doing with it. But this is my only machine I have, so I've been using it to plow out my driveway and stuff, because it does have the blade on it, and it makes fairly quick work out of it. I don't have a large driveway, so the heat is nice. But you can get a newer machine for close to the same price with less hours without a cab. It just depends how important it is to you. So like this machine doesn't have AC, so in the summer, I'll have to have the door open and the front glass up anyway to stay cool. So kind of whatever your preferences are. But if you're looking at buying one, I wouldn't hesitate. I can tell you right now, I've only had this one a few days. I just got it. It's end of January now. It's not the optimal time to have an excavator, but I used it. Here's obviously my cut logs that are not split, and this is all my split wood. And from picking from that pile, it's kind of been all spread out across the yard, and I was able to take that and put it all up on a pile. Then like I said, obviously I plowed out my driveway and did a few other little things, but it's even this time of the year, it's still handy. And it was actually kind of cool. I was able to scoop up my firewood in my bucket without the thumb, and I can move it around. So yeah, like I said, right now, another thing to also take into consideration is the time of the year you're buying. So I was not ready to buy one yet. I was going to wait a few months till late winter, early spring here. and this one popped up kind of early and it was a good deal, so I managed to scoop it up. But you know, if it's the middle of summer or early spring when everybody's ready to get to work with these things, you're probably going to pay a little more. And in the off season, it's kind of like anything. And in the off season, you might be able to get a little better deal. You know, it ain't going to be significant. It's not like buying a snowmobile in the summer or a boat in the winter. You know, you don't save that kind of money, but it helps. Although the kind of the trade-off there too is it's got to sit for a while, depending what use you have for it. So that's all stuff to take into consideration, and hopefully once it gets nicer out here I can make a better video. But it's obviously about I'd say 5 degrees out here right now, and I don't have a lot of wind block here, so it's pretty chilly. But yeah, this is my U35. I ended up going, Kubota was not my first choice, but I ended up going with the Kubota, and there's nothing wrong with it. There was no reason they weren't my first choice. I just wanted to keep my eyes open and be, you know, I didn't want to look past any good machines because they weren't the brand I wanted. So I kind of just kept my head open here and was like, you know, it's all based on the machine itself, not the color paint and not the name on the side of it, which is a huge thing because, you know, some people, you know, they might be a fanboy of John Deere and say they got to have a John Deere. I'm not saying the John Deere aren't nice machines. I do love John Deere's as well, but you know, there's a lot of other machines out there that are equally as good and sometimes have features that a lot of them other machines don't. So it's all stuff to keep in mind, some food for thought. And you know, if either any of you guys get one of these, I think you'll love it. I've been wanting for quite some time, and even in the frozen ground and the snow, I've been having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, you guys, I hope you enjoy, and come back around later on this year when I start making some videos where I can actually play in the dirt.